In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern where, if you watched yesterday's video, we have the cold air in place. Obviously, we are currently experiencing Arctic blasts from Canada. I can't recall a late May, early June, at least this far south where I'm at in Virginia, that has been this cold. I mean, we are 2 days away from meteorological summer, and typically we're in the mid to upper 80s on most days this time of year, and it's been hard to even get above 70, it feels like. So it has been tremendously cold. Originally, we thought around, June 4th, June 5th timeframe, we were going to see a full rebound back into a typical early summer-like pattern, but we are going to see that quick warm up, but it looks like the cold air is not done yet, and it is going to continue to try to fight in and basically take hold of the central and eastern states, and this is going to be a back and forth thing. We'll look at the temperatures in a minute. There is some big severe weather threats, obviously, when that warm and cold air mix. We know this, but it causes a lot of turbulence, a lot of instability, and a lot of thunderstorm activity. So we do expect the severe weather activity to be on the increase here coming up soon, and even, today and tomorrow and the next day, we do have some severe weather expected. So we haven't really missed a beat too much, but it does look to pick up actually even more beyond this point later on next week. And really a lot of precipitation in the central and eastern states overall. Most areas being pretty well above average as far as their typical precipitation for this time of year. So we're going to dive into all of this. Let's take a look at the temperatures first off. And I mean, you've been probably looking at it as I've talked, but we do have this positive PNA in place, and all that means is warm temperatures over Western North America. So we see that in place. This causes a lot of this cold to have to spill over into the central and eastern states, which we saw this during the entire winter almost. We're seeing this here for the past week and really moving forward as well, a lot of this. And the main thing we're going to be watching for warm air to return to the east is this positive PNA breaking up. That is the driving factor, and as long as that's in place, cold air is really going to be the more likely outcome in these areas. So we want to see colder temperatures begin to take over for the West in order to see the warm-ups begin for the central and eastern states. So let's kind of move through it here. As we move towards Sunday the 1st, very cool in the east. This warm air mass is sort of becoming more horizontal in nature as opposed to, or maybe even like diagonal you'd call it, as opposed to vertical up that western coast. We even see colder conditions along western Canada, western Mexico, and really California is the only warm area along the western seaboard by this point. So we do see some signs that that positive PNA is breaking up by Sunday the 1st, just a few days from now. By Monday the 2nd, it's evident that there's more cool air in the west than there is in the most everywhere else at this point. We do see some warmer conditions that was over the west spreading eastward towards the central states, and this will actually continue towards the eastern states as a whole. So here's the 3rd, and we begin to see a very, very transitionary pattern where we have this warmer air setting up for the east, and if this cold air would stay over the west, we would probably see this warm air stay over the east. But what we've already seen happen is this cooler air that was over the west is already beginning to move towards the central states. And we've gone ahead and seen warm air move in towards the west coast again. So this positive PNA is looking to rebound really, really quickly. And just by looking at this with all the arrows that I put on screen, you can kind of get the sense that everything is moving very progressively from west to east. And obviously that's typical, but this is very, very quickly occurring. So we're in a more progressive pattern at this stage, Tuesday the 3rd, than what is typical. As we keep going, I want to take us straight toward Wednesday the 4th. We see an even further solidification of that positive PNA in the west. The cooler temperatures in the central states are really establishing themselves. We are warmer along that eastern area. If we couldn't see maps like this, you'd probably think, hey, we've warmed up. It's summer's here. It's not going to go anywhere. But by the time we're reaching, Thursday the 5th here, you see things cooling. Friday the 6th. This is an ensemble model, so keep in mind it is a little bit averaged out. So as time goes on, we see a little bit less aggression with what the model's calling for, but it's pretty clear that we see cooler conditions in this area being trended in, and overall warmer conditions for the southwest area being trended in. The only thing we have going for us is that Western Canada is still cooler than normal, so this isn't a fully positive PNA, and that will give room for some warm-ups, back and forth warm-ups, cooldowns here in the east for that kind of second week time frame of June, perhaps. Here's Sunday the 8th, Monday the 9th, Tuesday the 10th. So you can see a lot of the cooler air is actually more over the central states, and we can see the northeastern corner is actually a bit warmer. But right around this time frame, the model is calling for this positive PNA to begin to look very, very healthy again, which would probably actually make things get even cooler around the Tuesday, June 10th time frame. Another thing that we do have going for us, though, is that this is at hours 300, so there is a very good possibility that this will look different. But if this model is correct, and the fact that it is an ensemble model means that there's an even better chance that it's actually correct as opposed to a typical model. This is just not a good look if you're hoping for hot summer-like conditions. I mean, here is kind of the evening time of Friday or Thursday the 12th, and we see clearly cool in the east, warm in the west with a full-blown positive PNA. This is just really, really the same stuff we've been dealing with throughout late May, to say the least. So if this is the case, we might get halfway through June without seeing any seriously hot patterns in the central and eastern states. A lot of folks maybe not even seeing really warm conditions, maybe room temperature like we've been dealing with. Again, areas like Virginia, my area, not necessarily a northern area, dealing with room temperature, if not cooler conditions with nights that are semi-chilly. This is not typical for the late May, early June timeframe. We should be relatively hot, and we're just not seeing that yet. So let's take a look at what this is going to do to a lot of the storminess. Many days will look like today on Thursday the 29th, where there's just pockets of thunderstorms and showers all around the central and eastern states. We expect that sort of pattern to kind of continue here as we move towards Friday the 30th. Again, more widespread storminess is taking place, and by the time we're reaching this evening of Friday, we actually have a pretty decent severe weather event happening here across the southeast area. We have a slight risk as of now, which is a pretty mid-level risk, kind of like low mid-level risk, so a little elevated. Definitely going to see some activity in this southeast corridor that could be concerning. I know that in Virginia here, maybe it was 3 or 4 years ago, we had an EF3 tornado on a slight risk day. So I think the name slight makes you think, it makes people for some reason think like, okay, good, we're good. There's not that big of a risk, but it's just kind of giving the percent chance within a certain mile range. It's usually 25 miles within a given location of seeing these threats. So even a marginal risk means there is a chance of these tornadoes, of this major hail, of this damaging wind, and the chance just kind of goes up. For some reason, when we get those low-level threats, people just think that there is almost no risk for them. But, of course, there is. So, by Saturday, this becomes more of a nor'easter, which is another thing you don't typically see this time of year. So, we get heavy rainfall, some stronger winds up there in the northeast. As we keep going towards Sunday on the 1st of June, we're really dealing with a primarily a ridge in the central states here, trough in the east. This is when the warmer air is moving eastward. So by Monday the 2nd, we see this continuing. I want you guys to watch the Rockies, though, because we are going to see a low develop. We're going to see a low develop, and it's going to have a cold front with it, and that's what's going to pull the cold air back in again. This is also going to be that pretty big severe weather risk that we have next week along that cold front. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens by Tuesday here. And here we are. A little bit of a weaker low, but it's right in here. We have this cold front. We have a big stretching warm front up ahead of things. And by this point, we are seeing those more humid and warmer days trending in for this corridor. Again, it might be relatively short-lived, so enjoy those hot days next week because we don't know how long it's going to be before we have more of those. Wednesday the 5th, we still have this frontal boundary that is crossing the nation, so another day of severe weather risk for the most part. As we keep going, we see these thunderstorms do eventually reach into the east between Friday and Saturday. And then as we continue to see a overall cooler pattern, we get more days with thunderstorm threats. Here on Sunday to Monday, the 8th into the 9th, we see that the central and northern plains, as well as the Midwest, are seeing some thunderstorms and severe weather risk here. Just a lot of activity, and a lot of these areas are very, very large where we're seeing these thunderstorms. Here's by the 13th, morning of the 13th, or we'll call it the evening of the 12th here because it's a better example, but we see the entire Gulf Coast and then all the way up into the Mid-Atlantic seeing thunderstorms. So very large scale showery and thunderstorm events happening here, even severe weather at times. This is going to lead towards a ton of precipitation. Speaking of that, let's take a look at the total precipitation, where again, the majority, so more than half of these areas in here are going to be seeing pretty well above average precipitation. Let's take a look at that, and we're especially looking at the blues, which we can see is really taking over for the kind of like central southern plains into some of these lower Midwest areas, and then kind of like the lower Ohio Valley, even a bit of the interior Mid-Atlantic there, seeing the most above average precipitation. This is only for 15 days, and these blue areas are 2 or more inches above average. Most areas don't even average 2 inches in 2 weeks this time of year, so you are seeing likely double or more of your average in these pockets. So very, very active for a lot of folks here. Let's take a look at that severe weather, and again, the lighter greens is going to be your general thunderstorm risk areas, and we don't expect severe weather in there, so that's kind of a special zone where thunder is expected. Severe implications are not, but we do see it happen sometimes, so be sure to heed every watch warning and advisory. The 2 darker green areas there, one throughout a lot of the south central states, one over there in the southeast, that's going to be your level 1 marginal risk areas where we expect isolated severe weather to occur. We also have 2 yellow areas. That's going to be your slight risk, level 2 slight risk, where we expect a little bit more scattered about severe weather reports. And then we even have an enhanced risk there for central Texas. That's your orange area, and that's where we expect a little bit more widespread severe weather in that region. Day 2, which will be for tomorrow on Friday, the 30th. Again, we have this slight risk setup from Alabama through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and even into Virginia. Outside of that, we do have a very large general thunderstorm risk area, 3 marginal risk areas as well. And don't be surprised if perhaps there's an enhanced risk upgrade in there for tomorrow. Somewhere in here probably would be mostly over the Carolinas. We'll have to see if that does occur or not. This is a rather large slight risk region, and current model guidance is showing some pretty violent thunderstorms. So don't be surprised. It's probably 50-50. It might or might not happen, but don't be surprised either way. Day 3 here, which will be for Saturday on the 31st. And remember, everything's pretty much moved out by this point, but we still have very large scale general thunderstorm risk areas here. We have 2 marginal risk areas as well, one there for the Mid-Atlantic and then one for southern Texas. And we even have multiple extended day outlooks here. So here's day 5, which will be Monday on June 2nd. We see a lot of the northern plains in that yellow area. This roughly translates to a slight risk. So another day that is at least like a kind of slim to medium risk. Day 6, we see that extend southward, actually, probably from a new system. Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska being the primary area where we're getting at least a slight risk, most likely, for Tuesday on the 3rd. And that is it. That is the extended day outlooks. But that is a good indication that we do see an uptick of activity expected next week. A lot of times we see severe weather threats that they never even put on these extended day outlooks. So if they're seeing it this far out, that means it really has their attention. And I certainly think next week could be a, like I've mentioned a couple of times, big uptick in that severe weather department. With all that being said, we upload every single day, so there will be big updates on all of this as we continue to get closer and closer and closer. So be sure to subscribe. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.